Well, 2021 just started. So, which show for the Wednesday Night War was better? Is it AEW Dynamite's New Year's Dash or NXT's New Year's Evil? We'll talk about that, discuss, and review on this episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Welcome, everybody, to the Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling from AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, many promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. Now, normally, as you guys know, when I do the Wednesday Night War, I always talk about the ratings and the views. Well, this day was particularly different, and I'll explain why. So let's reveal who had the most views and the best rating from the 18 to 49 demographic. From what I'm seeing, it's AEW Dynamite's with 662,000 views. Now, compare from last week, which was the tribute to Brody Lee. They only had like 977,000 views from that week. However, that's the reason it changed. But for their 18 to 49 demographic, they only got a 0.25. Now, in NXT, on the other hand, they received from this week 641,000 views, compared from last week, 586,000 views, with the rate of 0.16 in the 18 to 49 demographic. Now, so you can tell from the viewerships, AEW's rate views went down, NXT went up. But however, basically both of them did not do well in the ratings due to the circumstances that happened in our nation's capital, which we all know what happened. I don't need to reveal this all the time because I don't like to keep this political. But however, it's no one's fault. Some things like this happen. Remember, they get sidetracked. Remember, it happened already with the election. It happened with the NBA. It happened with the um, World Series. Whatever the scenario is, this happens all the time. It's no one's fault. Things like this happen. So let's just move on and review both shows, starting with AEW's Dynamite's New Year's Dash. All right, so we're in night one for New Year's Dash. As you recall, a week ago we were supposed to have this event, but certain circumstances changed with the shocking development of the passing of Brody Lee. So Tony Khan decided to push it back a week later to pay respects to Brody Lee. But now that that's over, which was a good show, they decided to do that this week. They will continue the following week. So the first match for the opener was the 8-man tag team match between the Young Bucks and SCU versus the Acclaim and the Hybrid 2. Now, this rivalry started weeks ago. As you know, the Hybrid 2 wanted to make a name for themselves by attacking the Bucks, then the Acclaim, but SCU always had their backs. In recent time, SCU has not been in a good winning position, but they did state it that if they lose one more match, they're done. But however, this match was good, knowing that both teams, they have a common goal. They want to strip the Bucks of the titles because they believe their time is done. Even though the Acclaim claimed that they were robbed from this match, thinking they should have won it, but they didn't, because they were the ones that used the boombox on, I don't know if it was Nick or Matt. I don't remember. But it didn't go that way. But it was good. There were several moments you see where the Bucks and SU were doing everything in their power to win the match, but they did combine How to finish it, they used the best moonsault ever to do like a Meltzer driver type, which was pretty awesome the way it ended. However, SU made it clear that once they won the match, they will not lose, but they will always have the Bucks backs. But however, one day they will come for those titles. That's something that they made it clear. Bucks have no problem whatsoever. Now, the next thing we have is the return of Jon Moxley. Now, we haven't seen him since Winter is Coming, where he was screwed by Kenny Omega and Don Callis. As we know what happened, it became a interesting story of development, because that's when Kenny's been making appearances at Impact Wrestling. But Moxley kind of sent a message to Kenny that he will get his hands on him, but he did state that he will not interfere in the match between him and Rey Fenix. But he did state he will get his hands on Don Callis for getting in the way. As you recall, Don Callis left commentary to see how Kenny was doing. He tried to convince him to stop the match, but Moxley wasn't going to let that happen. And I don't know if that was part of the plan that Don Callis wanted. But he did state he's coming for him. Then we jump into an interview by Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy. As you know, Trent is out for months due to an injury, but however, they were interrupted by Mero, Kip, and Penelope. Mero, he's like always in a good mood, but he did state at a stipulation match to Chuck that if he loses to him, he will be his young boy. Basically, he has to do what Mero wants him to do. And of course, Chuck accepted. So that match has already been booked for night 2 of New Year's Dash. Now let's get to the match that people has been waiting for a long time. The battle of two of the strongest men that we've ever witnessed in AEW. We're talking about Warlow and Jake Hager. We might have expected this for a long time. I was surprised how this one went. However, as we saw during the match, we did see Jericho. He was in commentary throughout the whole night. But during this match, you see the other members of the Inner Circle. Santana, Ortiz, Sammy, and MJF. Like, they just don't know who to root for. But they're just right there ooh, with the gestures. They don't know what to think of it. Now, you could expect someone like Jake Hager to win. But the surprising was, it was Warlow who won. I mean, I have to say, was this a real smart plan to have him go over Jake Hager? Perhaps, because we do know we have seen situations with Jake Hager. He won't be able to be around due to his other commitment as an MMA fighter. But we'll see how that goes. Next thing we have is Private Party having their own private party as always. They were visited by none other than Snoop D-O-double-G. Yes, he was there. Brought his little alcohol or whatever, or juice or whatever it is. They were having a good time, and here comes Matt Hardy acting like he's some sort of executive, having Private Party sign a contract. Now I don't know what that was about. But we're like seeing in that story where Matt, he's being a dick in certain situations. Even you can see that on Being the Elite. Next thing we have is the weigh-in. Now remember, in night 2, we have the TNT Championship will be on the line, where champion Darby Allin will face off against the Machine, Brian Cage. Now, as you know, Taz has been in a pissed off mood, feeling that no one is giving them respect, that the FTW Championship is not giving the respect that it deserved. And of course, his history with Darby, knowing that he refuses to align himself with him. But as you can see, there were times they were about to beat him up, but once again, Sting got in the middle of their business. This is something that Taz has had enough. Even though he's sick and tired of Sting getting in his business. But the real question is, what is the relationship between both Sting and Darby Allin? Is he wants to take him under his wing, be his mentor? We don't know. There has been a lot of talk about Sting, about his role. We do know he did state it. He wants to do a cinematic match. We don't know when will that happen, but I'm kind of curious how that's going to be. So we're going to see what they're going to do with Sting, because it's still up in the air what the plans are for him. Because I know there's been rumors circulating about him getting back in the ring, but there's concerns over the fact of his age, but also the injury he obtained while he was in WWE. Now, MJF, as you know, he's recently is starting to get closer and closer to Inner Circle. A couple weeks ago, he got that with Santana and Ortiz. This time, he decided to get closer to Jake Hager, who was not in a happy mood, that he lost to Warlow. He convinced him, look, you should be proud. I know this is not the outcome you want, but remember, you're still undefeated in MMA, which is true. From the time Hager made his debut in AEW, all the way to Moxley and Cody, he lost 2 matches, but he did not expect to lose to Warlow. So he was managed to calm him down and tell him, look, it's all good. You got it out of your system. So did Warlow. So just squash it. Now, the fan favorite of the team in AEW, Jurassic Express, we all know what's going on with them. They seem like they are willing to go to the title hunt. However, one particular tag team find offense to see these guys going for a tag team title shot because they consider them a joke and a circus act. And that team is none other than the Top Guys, FTR. So, they booked themselves in a match with Jurassic Express, with the exception of Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy. So Marco said he will take Luchasaurus' spot. Now, I don't know if this is a wise decision on him, but of course he still has his issues towards Tully Blanchard, all this other stuff. I mean, it would have been a lot funner to have Marco Stunt getting in the face of Tully Blanchard. We'll see what happens next week. Now, the next match, it was a match that has already been set between Matt Sydal and the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. It was a good match, but however, the biggest surprise is Snoop Dogg being the acting coach for Cody Rhodes. Now, he was, like, you can see him, like, right in the rampway, just looking out, giving his expressions. I don't know what to expect, but however, the match did ended in Cody's favor, applying 2 times the crossroads. First time, he was so close to the ropes, he had to pick up Matt Sydal in order to do it again, in order to keep him away from the ropes so he won't either pull his leg up or grab it with his hand, allowing himself to win the match. But however, while the match was over, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, Chaos Project showed up and attacked both of them. But however, they were able to turn the tides. But the one thing we did see is very unusual. Snoop Dogg told Matt Sydal that he was going to go up the turnbuckle. Now, he's a big dude, a tall dude. We didn't know what to expect. But what he did is he did the frog splash, something that his own cousin, Sasha Banks, have done in the past. So, because if you guys know, Sasha Banks is a Eddie Guerrero fan. So he pulled it off. I don't know what was that. That was pretty cool to see. I don't know if it was wise for him to do that or Tony Khan just let him do it. Not sure. But it was fun. Now, the next match is for the AEW Women's World Championship between the challenger Abaddon and Hikaru Shida. Since Abaddon made her return, she called her shot against Hikaru Shida, showing up out of the blue, playing mind games, even biting her by the neck. So this has became one of those intense rivalry match, very hard hitting. Like, how are you going to get rid of a psycho like Abaddon? That is something that, you don't know what to expect. There was a moment where Abaddon took Hikaru Shida underneath the ring, and then she bit her once again in the neck. So Shida had to fight through it, even though been bitten by the zombie. But luckily, she did manage to pull through to win the match. Now, is this far from over between them? I would say maybe so. But we'll see what happens if Abaddon wants to claim the championship, or someone else will step up. But we'll see how that goes. Now it's main event time. We got the AEW World Championship between challenger Rey Fenix and the champion Kenny Omega, along with Don Callis. This match was kind of really interesting. A lot of spots, but everything doesn't seem like it was that choreographed. Like, they didn't need to choreograph the whole thing. Like, certain spots they pulled in, they put a lot of athleticism in this match. Something different from what we normally see, but it was a good match. Not gonna lie about that. But the thing is, sometimes you ask yourself, okay, who could win it? But to me, I feel like there was no way that Kenny could drop the title to Phoenix. I think they have plans for him. But the way it ended, he actually did pull off the one-wing angel. He tried the first time, but it was diverted by Hurricanrana by Phoenix. Second time, it's always a charm for Kenny. However, while they beat Phoenix, Don Callis, once again, the invincible hand, had an ace up his sleeve. Phoenix was supposed to have his brother and Pac, members of the Death Triangle, to be by his corner, but however, they were nowhere to be found. Apparently, they were attacked by none other than Eddie Kingston, the Butcher, and the Blade. While this was happening, Moxley shows up with the barbed wire bat, the same barbed wire bat that Moxley used last year on Omega. While this was happening, we just saw the surprise, shocking appearance of Impact Wrestling's World Tag Team Champions, the Good Brothers. We did not expect this. We have seen Kenny making appearances at Impact, but seeing the Good Brothers. Now, I think we were expecting sooner or later some money or some people from Impact will make their appearance, but I did not expect it would be the Good Brothers. Best part is, while this will do that, many of the roster members from the outside of the ring try to help Moxley. They were getting their butts beat. All of a sudden, we see the Bucks come out. We don't know what was going on, but all of a sudden, they super kicked Brian Pillman. I forgot, and who else? We don't know what was going on until we saw the Too Sweet sign. Does this mean we're getting a different a Bullet Club reunion, but this time with in that way? We don't know. I have to say the ending was great because I think many fans were expecting this. Don't forget, you got Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows in Impact, two former members of Bullet Club. Then you got Kenny and the Bucks, also former members of Bullet Club. But I did mention to several of my friends, I don't think they're going to be called Bullet Club. But we'll see how that happens. I do know that Kenny and the Good Brothers are called the Super Elite. So I think that's it right now with this one. Let's jump in with NXT's New Year's Evil. Okay, so NXT has their very first and Old East WCW a name, New Year's Evil. It starts out with, of course, the host, Dexter Lumis. Now, when I was surprised at him doing this, I don't know how he's going to do this because he never talks. He normally does his drawings to do his dirty work. But the way it started is with him going to some sort of controller area where he controls the light. Then he sees like this lever that has off and the little baby devil sticker right there, and he yanked it. New Year's Evil began. That was a pretty cool opener. Now, let's start with the opening match. Damian Priest versus Karrion Kross. This was a very interesting match because the way this story was going, as you know, when Karrion Kross made his return after many months of being out of action from injury, uh, he made his presence known that he wants to reclaim what he never lost. If you recall, he won the NXT Championship um, during when he injured himself against Keith Lee, and he had no other choice but to relinquish it. And Damian Priest, who was amongst the few that wants to face Finn Balor for the title, Karrion Kross shows up, and of course, well, not him, but Scarlett, and then that's when the whole thing began between them. And they've been going back and forth on this between each other, knowing that Kross will not tolerate him. But the match was great, seeing these two guys, very athletic. I think they both have MMA backgrounds. I'm not sure, but it was so intense. You don't know what to expect. But it ended with Kross winning the match. So we could see him maybe on his way to reclaim the NXT title. But we'll see what happens because we do know Finn Balor is set to face against Kyle O'Reilly. And of course, there's Pete Dunne who wants a shot at that title. So we'll see what happens from then on. But let's move forward. As you know, they already announced the Dusty Rhodes Classics, the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which is an annual tournament they do every year on NXT only. It's already been revealed that the Undisputed Era are involved. So normally we see Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, but since Kyle O'Reilly is now going to face Finn Balor for the title, Adam Cole and Roderick Strong decided, you know what? Let's be a tag team. Try to, try to fulfill a second prophecy of the golden era for them. So that's what they're aiming for. But they're also going to be hoping that Kyle O'Reilly fulfill his destiny to bring back the NXT Championship back to Undisputed Era. Then we jump in with the Cruiserweight Championship match between challenger Gran Metalik and, of course, Santos Escobar. As you know, Santos claims that he is the leader of Lucha Libre, but Gran Metalik and Lance Dorado don't believe that. They believe that they're not the who made them leaders. But, of course, they think that their way of Lucha Libre is an embarrassment to what they see it. So the match was unbelievably good. There were some good spots where Gran Metalik is like his comfort zone on certain parts of the ring ropes. Even springboarding off the ring ropes. That's one of his trademarks. But of course, there's the problem where Legado is always by his side. It was Wild and Mendoza, but Gran Metalik had, of course, his buddy Lance Dorado right there by his corner. There were a moment that they were about to interfere, but they were taken out. But however, he came up short against Santos Escobar, who claims he's untouchable, but we'll see who is because I'm still waiting for the moment Jordan Devlin, the Irish ace, dethrones him and proves that he is the true NXT Cruiserweight Champion. Now, as you know, we just saw a couple weeks ago the return of Mercedes Martinez. We haven't seen her. We all knew what happened to her when she was in a feud with Rhea Ripley, and then all of a sudden she was supposed to join Retribution, but later she was sent back. She now made her mark where she decides she's coming after Io Shirai for her title. We know what she's capable of. We know what she can do. But of course, Io Shirai, if you know her completely, she will not back down. But however, will she be able to retain the title long enough for her to prove her dominance? We just wait and see when that happens. Now, as you know, for almost a month or so, we saw certain things coming from both Xia Li and Boa. Before this, Xia Li was in fact in a losing streak, been upset getting these letters from her family that she's being dishonored, that she has been on a losing streak. All of a sudden, she and Boa were taken by some old guy. And then we see like this figure, looks like a demon type in China. But Xia Li came back with a new attitude, new look, and more fierce than ever. And she faced off against Katrina Cortez. Don't know who she is, but I'm assuming she's part of the Performance Center roster where she's still in training. Am I assuming? But it did show Xia Li she's determined to become the dominant force that she was supposed to. But we still don't know who this mysterious figure is. We do know from Boa from weeks ago or a few months ago, he did stated she's coming. We don't know who this figure is. I'm kind of curious to see who she is. Now we got, as you know, apparently we were supposed to have the pit match between Champa and Thatcher. Now there's been a development during that for that match. Thatcher was injured and he could not compete. This will be postponed for who knows how long until he's recuperated from this injury. Even though Thatcher will not like this, but this is what that they have to. He was not medical cleared, so they kind of added a few things into the show to fill up the spot. Now, as you know, we got Bronson Reed who made his return. He did stated that he is sending a notice to everybody in the main roster. But however, he did state it. He have his money set on the last woman standing match on Rhea Ripley. So we got the last woman standing between two former best friends, Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. These two have been on each other's throats for months, ever since she sided with Dakota Kai. This is one of those things where it kind of changes things. There's been rumors and speculations about this match. But however, the match was so good. Great spots. I think the best moment for me is when Rhea Ripley nearly had the match won, but however, Dakota Kai shows up with the kendo stick to ensure. But the best moment is Raquel Gonzalez took off while Rhea Ripley was dealing with Dakota Kai. And Rhea Ripley actually put her in the locker and locked her up. But however, the match was so good. It ended with Rhea Ripley going through the stage, losing the match to Raquel Gonzalez, declaring her as the baddest woman ever. Now, there's been speculations about this match from various people. They're saying that this could be Rhea Ripley's last match in NXT, that she may be being called to the roster. Now, I know a lot of you guys are a bit more skeptical about this because I know you're saying, oh, the Vince is gonna screw her, like any other person that comes from the NXT roster. That's something we've always seen, something we cannot ignore because we know what's gonna happen, but we just hope she's being seen as a good wrestler that fans will love to see in the main roster. But we'll see what happens from there. Now, while they're trying to help Rhea Ripley get up from that loss of her match, here comes the Way being escorted by what I'm assuming fake cops or rent-a-cops. Subway the fact that Johnny Gargano broke the curse. And they're saying they're celebrating, and of course they did a little comic book type picture, but of course they were interrupted by Shotzi Blackheart. Austin Theory was dumb enough to go out and get into the face of Shotzi Blackheart, but apparently she shot a rocket up to Austin Theory's gonads. Yeah, you heard me right, the gonads. While that happens, she gets in the face of Candice LeRae, and then here comes Kushida to help her out to deal with Gargano. If you recall, he teamed up with Leon Ruff a while back. But however, the bell rings. Nobody knows what's going on. All of a sudden, we see Dexter Lumis. And of course, Gargano's saying, why did you ring the bell? Why did you ring the bell? He points to the screen, and it shows a picture of a match that's coming up next. He posted Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano versus Kushida and Shotzi Blackheart. And I like the reaction of Wade Baird, like saying, "How the hell did he draw this so fast?" To me, that is so hilarious. But the match was good. I think the best moment, Austin Theory was trying to think he can help out, but however, he got pulled in the ring by Kushida, and then he got put in the corner. But out of nowhere, when Johnny Gargano was trying to get Kushida, once again he tripped him. Johnny's head landed once again in Austin Theory's gonads. That is the most best moment ever. Gargano couldn't believe it. Once again, he got hurt. So, but it did allow Candice LeRae and Shotzi Blackheart and Kushida to win the match. It was a great mixed tag team match. I love it. Now we got the best news ever. The next takeover is happening on Valentine's Day. Yep, you heard me well. Next takeover will be on February 14th, 2021. I'm excited to see who's going to be in it. We just got to see what stories will be building up. My guess is the NXT Championship will be one of them. So is the NXT Tag Team Championship and possibly the NXT Cruiserweight North American, whatever the scenario goes. But also, speaking of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, William Regal announced for the first time ever, with a very good stack of rosters in the tag team division, they're having the very first ever NXT Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. To me, I'm like, whoa, that is cool. Now, however, keep in mind, they do have the Women's Championship, but it's not affiliated with any of the brands they have, like SmackDown or Raw. They can go to all the brands they want. Even they can go to NXT UK if they want to, but they can't right now due to restrictions. But they still haven't announced who are participating, but I do know who could be possibly involved. I do know Shotzi, Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, and I'm trying to think of others, but we'll see how that goes. Now let's go to the main event, which is for the NXT Championship between Kyle O'Reilly and, of course, the Prince, Finn Balor. Once again, this is part 2 from their infamous TakeOver 31 event, which is one of the best matches of 2020. This was also another good match. Now, this match was also in the same kind of level, was in the top of which is the best main event. However, this one was nothing compared to the Kenny Omega and Rey Fenix match. It was so good. But the best moment is when you see Kyle O'Reilly's jaw is broken. So basically, it's kind of like symbolic, where Finn Balor's saying, "We're even." So this was unexpected. But however, the Prince prevailed once again. And we don't know who will be the next champion, but I do know Pete Dunne is waiting for his shot. He's telling Finn Balor he was right there with Orny Lorcan scouting the match. So we'll see what happens. So let's give you guys my final thoughts. Okay, despite of what the viewerships and the ratings said, which show was better? Now, I'm going to say there's certain things I did like from both shows. Now, let's start with NXT. I did like the match between Raquel Gonzalez and, of course, Finn Balor in Colorado. Now, those were two of the best matches I like, in my perspective. But however, the best moments that are funny for me to watch is when Austin Theory got once again attacked in the gonads. Thought it was funny. But what do I think about Dexter Lumis being the host? Well, we didn't see him so much. I know he made at least 3 appearances. One when he opened the show, one when he actually set up the match between Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano against Kushida and Shotzi Blackheart, and then giving the sign of the announcement of the NXT Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. That is one of the things I did like. But however, the New Year's Dash with AEW was so good. I mean, we didn't know what to expect after following what happened, the tribute with Brody Lee. But however, keep in mind, the viewership didn't do so well because of the events that took place last Wednesday. But there was some good moments. I mean, how do I say this? Having Jake Hager and Warlow face off, that is like one of those matches that we were expecting, that was bound to happen sooner or later. I've always been a fan of Hikaru Shida, and this kind of match kind of shows she is tough. She's willing to fight to keep her championship no matter what against whoever weirdo is coming from hell. That's what I like. The match with Kenny Omega and all that was unbelievably good too. But however, the ending for me with AEW's New Year's Dash was so surprising shock. I know a lot of fans have been talking about this, like saying Bullet Club reunion. Yes, they were members of the Bullet Club, but you need to understand they're not allowed to be called Bullet Club because the name is owned by New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, when you saw this, the 2-Suite, you guys better remember Vince McMahon told them they are not allowed to do that. Now, if you guys don't know this, Pac said no one owns it. No one filed a trademark for the 2-Suite sign. If you remember, the NWO did this. And X-Pac mentioned, where did the origins come from? He said this gesture came from Turkey on his trip. And he just started doing it. And people are in the NWO or doing that. No one said anything that this was a trademark. But Vince was telling the Elite, stop doing the hand gesture. So they did. But however, it did not stop the Bullet Club in Japan that remained with Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, Balak Fale, Hakileo, Kenta, Taiji Shimuri, and those who are in Bullet Club to continue the gesture. Basically, they can't tell them to get rid of it because they're doing it. I don't know if it's a trademark thing down in Japan. But if you saw recently in Twitter, Tama Tonga doesn't seem like he's too pleased with the idea of them doing that. But he did call Gallows and Anderson betrayal, believing they're saying they're not Bullet Club. If you recall the storylines back in New Japan, they never did like Kenny, how he acted like he felt that the Bullet Club was being held back. Now, will we ever see the Bullet Club in a war like we should have between... we do know there's been talks that the AEW wants to start a partnership with New Japan. We don't know when will that happen, but I do know we all are expecting it. There's been talk now that Harold Mage is gone. But I feel in this particular moment of these two shows, I feel AEW had the better show for that. The ending was good. Some of the matches were good. And that's basically my opinion. So, I'm going to give you guys some news updates. Alrighty, so we got some news updates for you. As you know, that it's been already been mentioned on NXT various occasions. The Dusty Road Classic has been announced. It will start the very first round coming next week. Now here are the ones who are participating in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Undisputed Era, consistent of Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. Everrise, the former NXT Tag Team Champions, Breezango. Kurt Stallion, August Gray. The rather offbeat duo, Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Former NXT Tag Team Champions, Imperium, Eichner and Bartel. Jake Atlas, Isaiah Swerve Scott. The Way, Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory. Legado del Fantasma, Joaquin Wilde, Raul Mendoza. And of course, the first ever NXT UK Tag Team Champions, Grizzled Young Veterans. Now, the first round will begin next week. And they already announced who will be participating in the first two rounds. We have Grizzled Young Veterans versus Everrise. As you know, these two teams have been having a feud. As you know, Everrise claims that they're better than them, even though they're a bunch of wussies. And then you got Cole and Strong of the Undisputed Era facing the former NXT Tag Team Champions, Breezango. So all of that will begin next week. Now, recent updates have been coming from Ring of Honor on various news outlets. Apparently, Ring of Honor has re-signed talent to continue on with them. One of them is the international wrestling star luchador Bandito, who I met one time. He's amazing. He's now re-signed with Ring of Honor. Amy Rose, who serves like a manager to La Facción Ingobernable. And of course, Bateman of The Righteous is also re-signed. So all these three individuals have re-signed with Ring of Honor. So it seems that they may not be going anywhere. So they're here to stay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode with the Wednesday Night War and all this and that. Friendly remind you, next episodes will be coming up. Another episode with full of the Japanese wrestling. Another one with Ring of Honor. The constant with Ring of Honor, MLW, NXT UK, and 205 Live. And I don't believe there will be an New Japan Strong. I'll find that out as soon as possible. But I think that's it. And I believe this Saturday we have Impact Wrestling's Genesis. That might be on a separate episode when that happens. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I must bid all of you guys adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang!